Alrighty, this is our discussion one for sport tourism Super Bowl class. I am Bennett Wolcher.
I'm Isaac Rodriguez.
And Kelsey Little. So for this first slide, we put together the sport tourism definitions. There's 4 different definitions, and it's important to know and understand the different definitions because it can create different ideas and perspectives, as well as help identify with other sport tourism professionals on how to make or create a successful sport tourism event. So for the first definition, any activity in which people are attracted to a particular location. An example would be the Vikings training camp in Mankato, because a lot of people come here for that specific event. The second definition, the experience of travel to engage in or view related activities. If the experience of travel is easy and cost efficient, I think more people are likely to travel. But if it takes like 3 days to travel, I don't think people are actually going to go to that sport event. Third definition, specific travel outside of the usual environment. So if it's outside the country, you have to take in consideration of like plane rides, transportation, how you're going to get there. And I guess another example would be the Ryder Cup students. That would be one example. Fourth definition, sum of processes, activities, and outcomes that arise from outcomes and relationships among sport tourists, hosting organizations, and transportation. One thing that sticks out to me for this definition is the relationships among sport tourism. So for an example, if we're working the Super Bowl, we can make really good connections and network with other people. Same for those who volunteered with the Ryder Cup. But I think if you're working a pretty big sporting event, the relationships and connections that you make will help you in the future.
So when organizations come together, they usually use a system approach. And within the system approach, there's 5 key components. They use a tourist approach, which is kind of similar to what Kelsey was talking about, the Vikings training camp, transit. They work about transit, transportation, things like that, the location and how close it is to, and how easy it is for transportation-wise. Destination as well is very important. It's where you believe most of the revenue will come through, and destination's location for it kind of goes hand in hand with transit route as well. So facility movement is important too. I feel like it should be one of the priorities on the list based on like how much it costs to when you have to bring different locations and things like that to like different locations as well. It's just so then generated region is pretty much like depending on what region you're located at, generating money, that's important as well. So 4 types of sports tourism markets. Sports ticket event tourism is big too. In my opinion, active participant in sports tourism is huge because you want people that are active and participating in sport events as well.
And touching a little bit more on active participant sport tourism, it is the biggest sector of the sport tourism out of the 4 types. It brings in the most people. It has the highest outcome. Now going into celebrity and nostalgia sport tourism, this is a little bit lesser. It's literally people go to events to either see celebrities or for nostalgic reasons. So like they could either be going to some sport museums, they could be going to famous areas, locations where events are being held at. And last but not least, the 4th type is incidental. This is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's like an incident that's happening. If you're somewhere and you see a sporting event going on, you say, hey, might as well just stop by, see what's going on. And that thus making a little bit more profit or anything for that region. Okay, so now on critical success factors. They vary based on the event and situation. Also, they must match the activity, the spectators, and the participants. So it's kind of hard to define what a critical success factor is. That's also because it can be pretty much anything. Going back, it can be either of the 5 key components: tourists, the transit route, destination, the facility movement, or the generating region. So if you think about a marathon that's happening in the Rocky Mountains, obviously for the transit route it's going to be a lot more difficult. So you really have to focus on how you're going to get people into the mountains to spectate that event. If you don't have that, then you're not going to have as well as an access. Also,
I was gonna say another thing that she mentioned was her program where they did kayaking and had to go up a bunch of stairs, and you have to be like physically fit, so you have to be prepared for those types of different factors that go into that too.
So it's kind of like CrossFit, you say?
Yeah, like saying I guess when they all volunteered for, I don't know if it was the Ryder Cup or where it was at, but she was talking about in her lecture video that she had a program where they would help out all day, but they had to go up and down stairs. Well, if you have someone that's, I guess, even injured, like you're not going to be able to go up and down stairs, or you have to be physically fit just to do that type of work too.
yeah, and like going back on like matching the activity or spectators and participants too. Like if you're at a football game, you're not going to be advertising something for baseball. That just does not make sense. You have to match the feel, you have to match the environment, you have to match everything in order to make the best outcome possible for an event.
And even like demographics too, when it's mostly kids attending the event or adults, parents, you got to match your crowd as well.
Yep, completely goes into location, because you're not going to, for like mega events, you're not going to host a location where you know the generating region isn't going to generate. You want to make sure it's in places where you're going to be able to generate the most you can.
So some of the framework for sport tourism, hard sport is going to be the competitive larger events, so like the Olympics or FIFA, and then soft sport, it partakes in recreational sporting events while being a tourist, so that'd be like skiing or kayaking. I guess like one question, so as a sport management tourism professional, how would preparing for a hard sport differ from preparing for a soft sport? So just kind of comparing and contrasting, if you're going to have a hard sport like the competitive Olympics, obviously it's going to have to be somewhere that's known, not like just a small town or small region, and you're going to have a lot of helpers, a lot of work, you're going to have the right facilities. And then soft sport, basically the only thing that differs from that is if you have the equipment for people to go skiing and kayaking, and if it's something that people are going to want to do.
And I feel like soft sport kind of thrives off of having not so popular locations compared to hard sports like Olympics and FIFA, because you want those areas to generate the most amount. Like you want a lot of people in that area. For soft sport, you're going to have people traveling around the world to go to these places. So they're not really going to care if it's in a big city or if it's in a really, really known mountain area. It's like they can be pretty much anywhere. They're hidden, and a lot of people actually love the feel of getting away from other people. So that's a huge thing that you want to take in perspective when preparing for a soft sport event.
And I also feel like preparing for a hard sport, you're going to have to since it's a bigger and larger event, you're going to have to post and outreach more for volunteers and things like that. And also security would probably be the biggest thing, probably the biggest difference in a larger event. So just focus on security, and having people to wanting to help out would be key.
And I guess another question would be how can a sport management professional create a positive memory or impact for hard sport and soft sport events? I think it all has to go into what's gonna make the tourists have a memorable time and have an impact that's going to be positive more than negative. So I guess for the Super Bowl coming up, if it's gonna be the halftime show that really makes it for the tourists to have a good time, or if it's really the football and competition and just the atmosphere, because it's one of the most popular events.
And it's very important too that for a sport management professional or tourism professional is that they're going to have to know about the critical success factors. They're going to have to know about the event that they're planning. Otherwise, they're just going to be setting themselves up for failure. So you're going to need a person that has the experience with the event that they're planning, so then they can actually reach out to the same people who have the experience and love those events to just make the biggest outcome possible.
I feel like to create a positive memory for the fans and the people involved in the event is probably the most importantly probably pre-game engagement things like kind of like we do for Vikings training camp, like kids playing in a kids club, like blow-ups, Chuck for Charity, cool things event like that. But most importantly, probably like the game. No matter what you do, if the game's not successful and not entertaining, it won't be as memorable as people think.
Yep, the more like sub-events that you have at the main event to get people to come and just be involved is overall just going to boost everything up. And that is our presentation.
Thank you. My name is Isaac Rodriguez.
Kelsey Little.
And Bennett Walker.
See you next time.